Hey, what's up, y'all? It's time for some more Swamp Thing. This is issue number 3 of Alan Moore's run, or issue 22 of Saga of Swamp Thing, for those keeping score at home. As always, I hope everyone's having a good day, and I hope you all enjoy. It has been some time since Swamp Thing's escape from General Sutherland. None of his former friends have been able to get in touch with him for some time, and yet Abigail keeps searching. No matter what anyone says, even those closest to her, searching day in and day out in the marshlands of Louisiana, until the day comes that she and Matt comes across what looks like half a body covered in moss, slowly being sunken into the earth around it. Unfortunately, they are not the first to come across Alec's body. There's another one watching. Dr. Jason Woodrue. He sprays on his faux flesh over his bark-like skin and prepares to greet the two strangers. As Jason tells them, he is responsible for letting Alec out of Sunderland's captivity in one piece. This is a result of that. He suffered a grave psychological setback while in Sunderland's care. With the newfound evidence that he is no more than a moss-encrusted echo of a man, it has resulted in what they see now. Imagine someone going years and years of hoping to one day retrieve his humanity, only to find that he had never had it in the first place. He hasn't moved in over a fortnight, and he's rooted himself to the ground. He's even started sprouting yam-like bulbs and stopped pretending to breathe. He's regressing. As this information causes Abby to fold over and vomit, Matt quickly turns and puts a hand on her to comfort her the best way he can at the moment. Then, when she is finished, the two of them excuse themselves and run off into the distance. Jason Woodrue ponders to himself that people like them, creatures made of meat, can never understand Swamp Thing's situation. It is an insult that they even became squeamish at all. They are not strong like he is. Well, him and Swamp Thing. But even Jason must admit that he envies Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is currently making the change of giving up the illusion of meathood and sinking back into the soft, welcoming green. Within Alec's mind, we see two people, husband and wife, coming together in holy matrimony. To Alec and Linda, everyone cheers as they raise their glasses to one another. Abby asks for the recipe of the hors d'oeuvres, and Alec responds that there is something along the lines of planarian worms, or something of that nature. But that's not important. Alec didn't even meet Abby yet, so why is she here? She might have come to the wedding with her uncle, but that couldn't be. Alec saw Arcane's body himself. Arcane is dead. That is when Linda doubles over in pain. She was shot by a bullet, and she must be dying. Alec pleads to Linda to stay with him and cries out that he will find a restorative formula to bring her back, but he fails. Linda sinks into the sand to be buried under their feet. Alec runs over to Matt to help him out. He must dig up Linda. He has a chance to save her life, but he can't do it now. Matt won't let him start digging up in his nice tux. He needs his mud suit. Once he has the mud suit on, Alec starts feeling a little uneasy, a little not himself. That is when Abby brings up that he isn't even breathing anymore. His suit doesn't have the capillary action. He can't get oxygen to pass through his lungs. Not a problem, says Matt. All he has to do is scoop off the mud, little by little, until they are able to take the suit off. But that's when they find out that Alec isn't in the suit anymore. He isn't in there at all. That evening, as sunset approaches, Abigail in the real world is finishing up one of her walks. After she and Matt returned to their hotel room after running into Dr. Woodrue, Abby returned outside to try to clear her mind. She had been thinking about Matt, thinking about Woodrue, thinking about Alec, thinking about whether or not she was losing her mind. She needs to go home now to get some sleep and recharge her batteries. As she approaches her and Matt's hotel, she doesn't only hear Matt's voice from behind the door, but a voice of a woman. A word here, a blurred phrase there. Something using the word honey. No, she couldn't have said that. Who could be in there with her husband of all people? She remembers back to her being a young child who was afraid of the dark. When she would get a scare, she would lie in her bed like a stillborn, screaming under her breath, a scream curling in her throat as her eyes clamped shut. Eventually, she would gather the courage to open her eyes, and once she took a look from under the covers, she would see that nobody was there. Nobody was there at all. And as she opens the door to the hotel room, she is greeted by Matt, sitting alone in a room with a bottle in hand. Jason, after another full day of research, returns to his lab for dinner. Tonight, he's having yams. As he enjoys his meal, he reviews the findings for the day. Alec's biological readings are closer to that of the surrounding vegetation than ever before. Alec is now perfectly at one with the swamp. What the swamp knows, he knows. What the swamp feels, he feels. Jason once again finds himself filled with envy. He thinks of what it must be like to feel that feeling. He hungers for it. The green, silent eternity. Back within Alec's mind, he's currently holding the dead body of Linda when he hears a food vendor calling out for his business. The vendor is selling barbecue. Alec asks them for help for his wife. She needs a doctor. The vendors, however, are not interested in helping Linda. They are actually in the mood for eating humans, as long as they aren't Jewish. These are plain Aryan worms, of course. They're looking for more brain food. The body that they are eating before is bone dry. All that's left is the humanity. Unfortunately for Linda, Alec has to leave her here because he can't carry both. The next day, Abigail and Matt revisit Alec's body. As Abigail cries aloud to Alec to come back to the world of the living, Matt looks on in worry. Hours pass until they leave for the day. However, once they do, Dr. Woodrow reveals himself. As he approaches Alec's body, and as he removes a flower that he had sprouted, he thinks to himself on how he is indeed many things. He is Dr. Jason Woodrow, a man who is considered to be from another world. He is a botanist. He is someone so skilled he can communicate with plants. Hell, if he tried hard enough, he can even control them. But he cannot be a plant. His mind is still too human. He needs an intermediary. He needs a go-between. He needs Swamp Thing. Within Alec's mind, Alec is fighting off hordes of enemies while clutching what is left of his humanity. Everyone is trying to grab at a piece of the skeleton, but Alec fights on. They have all taken enough of him. This time, he stands up to his enemies and keeps what is his. Dr. Woodrow returns to his lab with the flower sample that he pulled from Swamp Thing's body. If he can connect himself to Alec, who is in turn connected to the green, then that will then complete his journey. He will finally become complete. As he turns his machine on, the dials start spinning and the buzzers start buzzing. Jason is so close to ecstasy that he can almost feel it. Back within Alec's mind, he grows tired, but it's too soon to give up. It's the human race after all, comments the remnants of the skeleton in his hand. But this is a good thing. As long as Alec has his humanity, he has a reason to keep going, a reason to keep running. He already gave up on Linda. He can't give up on his humanity too. If he gave up on his humanity, then there wouldn't be any reason to keep running at all, would there? As Alec sits down on a log, he slowly gives up on himself until he's nothing at all. Jason Woodrue is assimilating with the green. He is the plant. He is beyond the plant. He is 1,000,000 blades of grass sitting under the moon. He is the giant tree hanging in the Amazon. He is the northern redwood and the yellow Arctic poppy. He is the teeming undergrowth in Australia, the seaweed in the Samoa. And what in one split second brings peace, brings pain all the same. As his fingers tear his fake skin off of him and reveals the bark-like skin underneath, he quickly loses what little touch with reality he had. As his mind breaks, the Floronic man screams louder and louder and louder into the openness of nature. And what seems like all at once, the screaming stops. And the Floronic man is reborn, and anything that would be considered human is consumed and gone forever.